Hey, everybody, welcome to the Curtis Podcast Network. This is This Sports Show with a very special guest today, Drew Dougherty, the Texans TV host. How are you, man? Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Curtis. Good to see you. I'm doing great and ready for the bye week. It's good to have a little bit of time off. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with, the litany of injuries that the team has faced this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be really, really well deserved. But yesterday was kind of rough, If anybody would have told me that we would have had 5 turnovers, like that we would have had taken the ball 5 times and had as many sacks as we did and still lost the game, I never would have believed that.
Yeah, we've had a few games like that where if I'd have told you this at the start of the season would happen, then you'd just be like, oh, that's a W, that's a W. And it hasn't happened. It's been a weird year in that regard. And yesterday was just a weird game, man. That's for sure. You're right about that. 5 takeaways and you're just not able to capitalize. You only get 9 points off or 6 points off it, really. It was tough. It was tough to watch. And I think the biggest thing was it was surprising more than anything. Tyrod Taylor, I was not expecting him to struggle the way he did. And I was not expecting those blitzes. I figured that would have gotten corrected, but it didn't. And Texans lost. Kudos to the Dolphins for doing what they did.
Yeah. I think last week or during the Dolphins game, it actually ended Jonathan Grenard's sack streak, right?
Yeah, it did. It did. It's he still played well though. I mean, I know he had a stop like on the first play of the game. He had pressure on the third play. I think he got a tackle for loss in there, and he's played great. He's been one of the bright spots. I'd say the brightest spot so far this season for the Texans, and he's been a lot of fun to watch. You saw why they took him where they did a year or so ago, and he's definitely a building block. And that's been, in a season that's been rough when you've lost 8 games, there's not much good to talk about. He's been something good to talk about, and I know they're enthused. Everybody's enthused about him here in the building too.
Well, I mean, where he didn't get in to get a sack this week, it seemed like everybody else decided to get a sack this week. I was kind of waiting on Malik Collins to actually get into the game and start, doing something impactful. And I think this week was probably his most impactful game in a Texans uniform.
Yeah, I think he's been pretty good at, the numbers haven't really gone his way as far as, what you would judge as impactful, but he's been in there. He's been mixing up. He was what we saw on yesterday. What we saw yesterday was what we all saw in training camp, because he's very impactful in winning his one-on-ones. Then Lovie Smith talked about it multiple times in training camp in the early part of the season. He thought the Texans were going to be in a good position to get him into one-on-ones, get Malik Collins into one-on-one battles. And he thought he had a good chance of winning them. And we saw that yesterday. Malik was really good yesterday. And he's been somebody that's been a pretty interesting piece to the puzzle, because if you could say one position group this year so far that has played, okay, it's a defensive line. I mean, they've played better than they did last year, certainly. And I think on the whole, they played okay.
Absolutely. I would emphatically agree. And I would say that Roy Lopez has actually played pretty well for a rookie. I didn't think much of the pick when it happened, but he was a pleasant surprise. I heard nothing but glowing reviews about him all camp long. He tore up the preseason. I was ready for it. Like I was thinking he was going to be, he's the next coming, the next guy we needed.
Yeah. Another bright spot. Yeah. Another bright spot. And he's somebody that we nerded out about back when the draft happened. And when he got picked, you started doing your research and it's like, oh, well, did some nice things last year. Didn't play too much because the Pac-10 or Pac-12 had their weird little rules. And but he played pretty well. And then you look and, oh, his dad's a high school coach. So he's going to be football smart. And, oh, he was a state champion wrestler, and like all this stuff kind of kept popping up. And then lo and behold, he comes to camp and plays pretty well in the preseason games. And then he gets a starting spot. So yeah, you've gotten excellent production when it comes to the value of, taking a late round pick. You're getting pretty solid production from Roy Lopez. And yeah, he's been good. He got to do the salsa dance yesterday too after a sack. I like seeing that. That's always cool, right?
That was really cool.
Yeah.
The reason I'm so inquisitive about the defensive line is that's what I played in high school and a little bit.
Okay.
But that's just so like that for me is like my bread and butter. I understand that more than anything else.
Sure.
I was a little confused by the trade of a Minahu. He's a young player. He was developing. The numbers weren't there this year, but I still think thought there was a lot of promise. Maybe there's something I wasn't seeing.
Yeah, they talked about it. They said it was one of those things just for the better of the team, and they're doing him not a favor, but they thought this would be a good situation for him. They thought they had a lot of guys in the defensive line. Yeah, clearly there's something. He does have promise. I think he definitely does have potential, and he did some nice things while he was here. Showed some flashes. Maybe ultimately, I think they probably wanted more consistency. And who knows how much of him not getting playing time played into that, so we'll see. But yeah, it just didn't work out here for him. And that's a shame because, I got along well with him. I like him. And it's like I said, he made some plays, he made a enormous play in the regular season win at Kansas City 2 years ago that the Texans won. And, he knocked that ball loose, but Bernard McKinney was there to get it. And then a couple plays later, Watson's waltzing in the end zone. That was a big win. That was a really big time signature win for that season. So yeah, it's tough to see that because you do and he's from here. He played for the Horns, or not from here, but you know about him because the Horns are a big deal. And yeah, it was surprising. I hope he does well. I hope he flourishes with the 49ers.
Me too. All the best for Minahu.
Yeah.
So you touched on it earlier. Tyrod just didn't really have the game any of us really expected. Was it more? Do you think it was more of a coverage thing that was kind of confusing him, or do you think maybe it was a little bit of rust coming off of IR?
It's a great question. I have no idea. I was just surprised that collectively, not just Tyrod, but collectively, the Texans weren't able to punish that blitz because there's always like pressure releases in theory when a team blitzes. You can kind of jiggle something maybe and have some receivers run different routes, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I don't know why that was happening. I was really dumbfounded by it. So I really do not know, but I still think obviously he's going to start. We heard David Culley say that this morning. Tyrod will be the starter at Tennessee in a couple of weeks, but I think he'll bounce back. I think he's going to play much better next time. So
I think so too. I think that was probably one of the worst games he's had as a pro.
Probably so. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be like I'm a Tyrod Taylor historian, but yeah, you'd be hard pressed to do worse than that. I mean, that was hard to see for him.
Yeah. Our first contact with each other had actually written into your segment, Dear Drew.
Yeah.
And I had asked about Scotty Phillips.
Yeah.
So 2 games ago, he got like 6 or 7 touches, showed a little bit, had a couple good catches. And then last week, I think he touched the ball like once.
Yeah. Yesterday he had a rush for 2 yards and then he left the game with an injury.
I didn't know.
It's really the weirdest thing. I don't know what the deal is because he was clearly the best back just if you look at stats alone in preseason, and he had some juice there, and he was getting some yardage, and why not play him and why not play? And that question got asked every week of David Culley and company, and they said his time's coming. He's ready to go. And if they didn't think that highly of him, they wouldn't have kept 5 running backs. So it was weird to see. Now there's 4 on the roster with the Ingram trade. So I would imagine you're going to see more of him. I don't know how serious this injury is, and we didn't hear much about it today, but hopefully if, he gets through the bye and he gets healed up, you get to see more of him in the second half of the season. You would see some of these younger guys.
Yeah. That's kind of the way the season's going is we're smoothly going towards a direction of, all right, what's the youth on this team got? Let's see what we're building around. Let's see what's worth keeping. And I think one of the best parts about this going forward is I think Casario's might already be one of the better GMs that we've had. I think a lot of the little nickel and dime trades that he's made, some of them haven't worked out, like trading for the corner Holman from the Packers. didn't really work out. Didn't even make it like a couple weeks on the preseason. But I liked the Marcus Cannon trade. I liked some of his other moves. So I'm excited for the offseason to see what he's got in store.
Oh, it's going to be a fascinating offseason. You're right about that, because there's so many guys right now on the roster, as you know, that are on 1-year deals. So some of them will stick. Some of them are going to be gone, but there's going to be, either way, there's going to be a high turnover again. And it's interesting seeing who's going to come in and how emphases will change as far as position group, and which one is going to get focused on a little bit more than the other.
Right.
You've got, I've got to my left, I've got the draft picks for the next 3 years, and you have every pick in every round except for the 5th this year. That got traded away, but you got 2/3. One of them's coming from the Saints.
Right.
You got 3/6, and you have your first and your second, which you haven't had in a while. So you've got some ammo, and you're probably going to have some more
because of the Watson trade.
If that goes down, and then what do we got compensatory pick wise? We'll see if how much that all comes into play. So you've got 9 right now. I bet that number goes north between now and the first pick of the draft for sure.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that Caserio has done that has shown that he's not willing to give up or trade out, or
and I think we both admit we're not going out on some big limb by saying, he's going to make some deals. He is going to be active, and you got to be, when you're losing this much, you got to shake things up. So yeah, for sure.
So you already mentioned the draft picks looking ahead to next year. Are there any names being tossed around already as far as like who David Culley or any of the staff like as far as draft picks coming up next year?
Not yet. They're all still just totally locked in on what's going on. So, no names specifically. And really, I think just about every single position group you could make specialists aside, you can make a justification for, they're going to pick that guy, a guy from that group first, if it's the best player available there, or they'll go there. There's no position group I think that is going to be eliminated. Maybe not a first round running back, but just about every other spot, if they think the best guy when they're picking is from X group or Y, they're going to go with that. I think you're not going to see them just zero in on one player in particular and it's him or bust. I think they're just going to try to, stack as many good players on this roster as they possibly can, because they need to. You clearly have building blocks and guys that are contribute for a while, in guys like Grenard and Lopez and Nico Collins on the other side of the ball, Brevin Jordan. Those are 4 right there, to name a few. And there's a few I'm sure that I'm forgetting, but you got them, but you got to add to that. And they want to do that for the draft or through the draft and keep getting good players that they can control for a while, contract wise, money wise, as that moves forward.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So do you think, just in terms of like this upcoming draft season, are there any quarterbacks that you'd like to see wearing a Texans uniform, or would you prefer to wait until the next year and let Davis play a full season?
Yeah, I think you got to see what else you got from Davis Mills. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of like the coach, like I just described to the coaches. I'm so like locked in on what the Texans are doing. I'll kind of turn it on and I'll watch a little bit of the SMU Mustangs because I played there. And my wife is a Longhorn, so we'll have the Longhorns on whenever they're playing. But normally I'm like wrestling with our 8-month-old, on the couch when there's football on, or I'm listening to my kindergartner or my 3-year-old say something, or the twins that are in second grade. So like, there's all sorts of extraneous stuff going on when college football is on in my house that I'm probably not the guy to talk to. You should probably book John Harris for your podcast next, because he'll give you some good names. He can give you some good names, good ideas in that regard. But name wise, I just want to hit some home runs on some first rounders like the Texans have done in the past, throughout their history, and just get guys that going to be here, going to contribute, and do really good things, turn in some Pro Bowl caliber seasons, and you won't have to worry about them.
Follow-up question: do you or Philip Rivers have more kids?
He's got more. It's funny. Funny you bring that up. My wife, she always, yeah, she likes football. She's not the most avid fan, but she's like, oh, I like him because he has all the kids, and he's a fun guy. So yeah, he's got more. How many do you got? You just got a puppy. I know you had to walk your dog before this. What type of puppy did you get?
I just got a beagle puppy. She's
Oh, God bless you, man. I hope you're prepared for that.
already got a 2-year-old one, so
Oh, okay.
broken in with beagles. But yeah, she's adorable. I have a 18-month-old.
Okay.
Our first. We're not married yet, but we're getting there. But
all right, boy or girl?
His name's Case, named after.
All right, it's like Case Keenum. Sure. All right.
Watching when we came up with the name, we were actually watching the Minneapolis Miracle happen.
Is that right? All right, that was a good one.
So that was happening, and I was like, I like that name. First kid's being named Case, absolutely.
Well, it's a good guy to name it after. He's one of my all-time favorite Texans to have ever come through here. He's great. I mean, everything you see about him it backs up and checks off when you actually meet him and interact with him. He's a good dude, really good dude. He's been a good player now for a while. I mean, you got to tip your cap to him for having the career he's had.
I just wish we would have done it in Houston.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have him around here at some point.
I mean, I feel like there are times, like every other year or so, I guess, it seems like we have a couple undrafted free agents that, like, they move on from here and they go to the next place and they end up blowing up, or they stay here for a little bit and they blow up, like Arian Foster.
Yeah.
Case Keenum. Oh God, who was the other one that I just had? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we've had there's been, and then you can say that about just about every team. He was awesome. I remember him as a rookie. He was here on that 12 team, and then he wasn't active in 13 until the first career start there in Kansas City, and played pretty well. And then the Chiefs, they got a little too sophisticated, for him at the end, and they're bringing some different exotic blitzes and kind of made things tough. But yeah, Case he saved our bacon the next year when he came back in 14 and came out of the deer stand and win a couple games. He was awesome. He's a good guy.
I remember that. That was the year that Schaub kept throwing all those picks, right?
In 13, yeah. He got the start. Yeah, Case did. I think it was week 7 or week 8. It was about midway through at Kansas City, and he played well. And then I think he had like a streak, something like 3 or 4 games where he didn't throw an interception, and the Texans kept coming up short. But yeah, he was great. And then the next year when he came in and he beat the Ravens, and the Ravens wound up going to the playoffs that year. And it was that was a Texans team that went 9-7.
So when did you join the Texans organization?
I started in 2009, right at the end of training camp. I got hired. I'd spent the previous 4 years as a sports anchor in Lubbock, Texas, and I was at the Fox affiliate out there, mainly covering the Red Raiders and then some high school sports and other stuff, but did the sports casts there in Lubbock 5 nights a week for the Fox affiliate. And I also hosted the Mike Leach TV show, and that was a lot of fun. So I went to every Tech game and interviewed the coach, Coach Leach, after every game. Saw some interesting stuff, and called play-by-play for the 8 or 9 Texas Tech women's basketball games that got put on local TV every year. Called play-by-play for the Tech baseball games, like about 2 or 3 every year that came on the local affiliate where I worked. So I did that. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I worked all the time and had a great time. Hosted the baseball coaches show for Texas Tech and the women's basketball coaches show for Texas Tech. So had a lot of fun experiences out there.
Sounds like you've been doing basically anything you can in all of sports.
Yeah, I have. I was there from 05 to 09. Left there in early August of 09, and I started here in late August of 09.
Cool. Yeah. Well, been here for a long time.
Yeah, I am. I'm old. That's for sure.
When did you become a Texans fan?
Well, I'm from here. So, I was an Oilers fan growing up. I mean, no girl could ever break my heart like the Oilers did, and loved them. And then when I was in high school I guess my sophomore year was the year they lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs. Had that last great team, and then they got rid of Warren Moon and it fell apart. I mean, just totally fell apart. and I didn't really follow them those last 2 years of high school, and then maybe a year or so they were still in Houston when I was in college, I think, or they might have gone to Memphis, and then they went to Nashville, and they left, and so I stopped caring about them, and I don't know, I kind of followed the NFL, and I watched Cowboys games here and there, but I didn't have a team, and then when the Texans came to town, I was like, okay, I'll root for the Texans. I'm from Houston. But when I started working here, that's when I became entrenched in, just eat, sleep, breathe Houston Texans.
Well, naturally, I assume that with the natural diet of just absolutely being around it all the time.
Love it. I love it. It's weird though. The first Texans game I went to, I've never been to a game, like a Texans game, just to watch it. The first game I ever went to was the first game that I worked, when the Jets came in here and stomped them in week 1 of 2009 when rookie Mark Sanchez beat that Texans team. But then they rebounded the next week and went out to Tennessee, and they got in fist fights and a dog fight really with the Titans and won that one.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I became a Texans fan in 2003. I went to a Titans-Texans game in Nashville.
Because you're in Nashville right now, right? Yeah.
Into the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So I went to a Titans-Texans game 2003. So that would have put me in like 4th grade.
All right.
So I had never heard of them. That was their second year in existence, at least to my knowledge. So I was completely enthralled with who this team was. Went home, found him on Madden, bought a David Carr jersey. Still got my Andre Johnson jersey hanging up in the back here.
As you should. Never get rid of it, man. He's the GOAT. Love him.
So I mean, I've just kind of been a long time fan, and I'm so used to us not being good that the years that we won 6 division titles in like a span of 7 or 8 years. I mean, that was real nice. That was a treat.
It was fun. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. The first 2 were pretty special, because you win the one in 11 with your 3rd string quarterback in TJ Yates. And then the next year you start out 5-0, and then you have the hiccup on Sunday Night Football here. Then you go all the way to 11-1 before kind of December. They had that swoon, and they wind up bowing out in the second round of the playoffs. But yeah, those 2 years were pretty remarkable if you look back at it now.
Absolutely. I remember being on the edge of my seat with the Yates coming in against the Bengals.
Oh yeah.
In our like 10 first time ever. I ran around my house. I was doing victory laps. My whole family's Titans fans. So
okay.
Everybody is just on me all the time when they play each other.
Right.
I got to turn it up to 12 when we end up winning. There was one particular game where Rob Baronis kicked 8 field goals to beat us.
Yes. That was before me, but that's a sore subject around here. Yeah.
That was a rough. Actually, the co-host on my sports show, who's normally on here. Hey, you don't have to. My puppy's whining over here. My co-host actually the next day so this was like 7th grade, made a joke about how we need to give a Baronis bonus. That has just haunted my dreams.
Yeah.
But that was a Sage Rosenfeld's game. That was like when Schaub was still like, is he going to be the guy? Is he?
Yeah. When their injuries. Yeah, that's right. Sage was a good backup for sure, man. He was a good player.
His moments until the Rosencopter. But.
Yeah. He's a good quarterback though here,
Yeah. Won his last 40 games. Didn't he beat the Colts for the first time?
He might have. Again, that was right before I got here, so I'd have to check. Mark Vandermeer could tell you like that, but I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Right. Well, yeah. I don't want to keep you, so I'll let you go. I appreciate you coming on, man. And if you ever have any time and you'd like to come on again, please let me know.
Yeah, let's do it. I had fun, Curtis. It's always good talking with you, and I'd love to come on again for sure.
Please.
All right, my friend. Good luck with the puppy.
Thanks, man. Good luck with the kindergartner.
All right. Yeah, we got a big soccer game tonight.
Yeah. Well, all right. luck to your kids, and have a good one, man.
Okay.